on the computer. Hi, this is Kathy Basel with Limitless Women Rising. This is a talk series for women who have that calling for something more. And perhaps you don't know what it is. Perhaps there's things like procrastination getting in your way. So today I'm delighted to introduce you to Nilofer Safdar. She's, I don't know, just a magic maker to me. I've worked with Nilofer. I've known her for quite a number of years. And one of the things I love about Nilofer is she's always in creation mode. So I wanted to ask her today, invite her onto the series to tell us more about what is this. So first tell us a little bit more about what you do with when you work with people, and then let's talk about this notion of out creation.
So basically for the last few months, I've been working with something called energetic releases. And the whole thing behind that is that no matter what is going on in your life, if you can just bring that energy up, and by what is going on in your life, like things that are out of balance and stuff like that, if you can just bring that energy up and you just release it, let it go, so that that energy is no longer affecting you, you're no longer an effect of that, that's where you come to the space of freedom. And it's about, continuously finding those things that are out of balance and continuously coming to that state of balance, so that then you start being in that space of balance more and more and more. And so, now when I find those moments when I'm out of balance, I'm like, yay, another thing for me to, release and come back to a state of balance with. So yeah, that's what I've been working with. And, working with this with clients, I've had some amazing breakthroughs, like the kind of things that are changing for people. It just humbles me to see how much change occurs for people with that.
Yeah, and I love the work. I've done some of the energetic release groups that she does, and what's kind of strange and different about the way Nilofer does it, she's got a group of people. You just submit your name and email, sometimes an intention along with that, and you don't even have to be present for the type of energetic release she's doing. And it's interesting. I can always tell when she's tapping in. She's in Abu Dhabi, and so 7:30 in the evening my time, I can always tell when she's tapping in and releasing stuff. But how does that work, that you've got a number of people? Are we talking like quantum entanglement, or how do you gather everybody's energy up to be able to work with it collectively like that?
It's just very simple. I just, what you are talking about is my 21 days of group healing program. And what I do is every person who is registered, I actually have their names with me. So when I begin to work with them, I just connect, I look at all the names and I just connect with them. So just having a name is enough for me. And I connect with every person, and then I just start working on them. And, throughout the 21 days, every day I have a different thing that I work on. So, with all this interesting stuff going on. So the last 21 days, I did a pathogen cleanse every single day. And the other thing that I did with that was that I also cleaned the physical spaces of all the people who participated, of all the pathogens. So that was really intense. I also brought in like 7 days of money, where I just, worked on money stuff. That was really interesting. And then I work on all kinds of stuff, some psychic energies, emotions, a lot of suppressed emotions, unexpressed emotions, wounds and traumas and all kinds of things. Like, so depending on the energy of the group, I just get this very strong thing that, okay, I need to work on this. What I would like to do is I have 3 ideas in mind. One is to do like like a 21 days of weight release kind of a program. The other thing I want to work with is 21 days of money. And the other one that I really feel very strongly is, like a deep healing. Work on your inner child stuff, your wounds, your sexual traumas, and, all kinds of things, all those things which we love to push under the carpet, love to, push it away, never look at that, really work on that. But that one really is something, it requires courage to go through that, because all your shit is going to come up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but now's kind of like the perfect time because you can't help it right now with the pandemic. It just feels like, I just think of the whole world being tilled over. So all of this old karmic stuff is coming up. And like, I like how you said at the beginning, it's like, yay, my shit's coming up. I feel like I got hit by a tank. Yay. Because, we're with consciousness rising, we can let go of this stuff and it's coming up. And I like to think that it's coming up for us, but then we've got the collective, and then we've also got like the ancestral, generational stuff.
And what's one of the things which has actually showed up for me during this during these, I think I've been working with this for about 60 days now. What's come up for me is that I suddenly, not suddenly, like this whole capacity I had for seeing things like clairvoyance, it has come up with a bang. And so now when I work with people, I see stuff and I'm like, oh my God, on the face of it, it looks like this. And look what's going on in the energy field.
Yeah. And would you say that's maybe a question that all of us should be asking for ourselves when stuff comes up? It's like the presenting problem looks like a tiger, but should we be asking certain questions when stuff comes up?
I think the best thing is, I wonder what this is. Really, I wonder what this is, and really being willing to see it. Because what I started to notice was that I have now become willing to see things I was not before.
Yeah.
And I think that's a large part of that is actually a function of how much I've been letting go of things as well, right? Because before, literally, that phrase, like an ostrich, bury your head in the sand, that was me. That was me. I mean, really me, big time. Like, my favorite quote was, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
But really, being willing to let go of things, being willing to all kinds of things, I've really come to this space of, you know what, I can see things. And yeah, things still do freak me out, but the thing is that with the energetic release, I can let it go. Like, just to share with you, when I was really young, maybe when I was in my early 20s, when I used to do healing, I could see death, like I could see people who would die, I mean, the clients that I was working on. And that really, really freaked me out, because I was like, oh my God, am I creating that for them? Instead of, I'm just an observer, I'm just seeing what is in the field. And so I turned that off big time, but now all those things, and they're starting to show up. And what's really interesting is, when I see things in people's field, I can see past, present, and future simultaneously. And literally, many times I will be seeing things, physical issues for people. I will see something showing up in their energy field, and I'm like, but they don't have that. But then, within the next 1 or 2 days, they actually manifest that. So now I'm like, okay, so I'm getting information about the future, so I can start changing it now. So what I'm trying to say is that, when you become willing to see,
Yeah.
that's the whole point. So I wonder what this is a great place to start. And be willing to see anything and everything. And if you get freaked out by something, then use whatever tool you have to let go of that fear, that freak out, whatever that is, and then start. Because the time now is that a lot of the imbalances that are going on for us are actually because we are being asked to look at everything that is out of balance in our life. So if you have any pain show up in your body, it's always something that is out of balance in your life, and you really have to be willing to see it, and see what is out of balance. Because when you see and acknowledge that, and you make a conscious choice that yes, I can let it go, that's when it starts to change for you.
Yeah. And the thing out of balance is it usually things about not seeing our own worth and capacity to give and receive love, or what other kinds of things would you say are the imbalances?
Um, I haven't really looked at it in that way. But for example, the other day I was working with a client and she had some issue in her foot. And I was like, "Are you dragging your feet? Are you not willing to take some action that you require to take?" And she was like, she went.
Love you, but
Another client I was working on, she had some intensity in her stomach, and she said, it's bloated and I can't eat, I can't, whatever. And I said, are you not willing to? So stomach is to do with nurturing, right? So I don't know what question I asked her because it just comes and then it goes. I don't really recall those things,
yeah.
but turns out that she was like not willing to be seen. And no, yeah, again, she was in that, right, I got it. So again, she was another one who was not willing to take action.
Mhm.
And so it was like, the stomach, which was like, creating all the whatever interesting things. And she was not able to eat or anything because eating gives energy to your body to take certain actions. So she was not able to eat, and so she could not take action because she was not taking action, in a convoluted kind of way.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said, I think we're just at a different, like a new doorway of it requires us to go back. And even the things that we think we've dealt with, and we have, but it's like, it's a whole new context. Let's look at this scenario again that we created and get the bigger message for us to take.
Yeah, so it's like the whole new context is the perfect way of looking at it, because even when you think that is the same thing which keeps recurring, actually it doesn't. It's different aspects of that whole situation which are coming up. And like, okay, I've not handled this aspect before, and now this one, and now this one, and now this one, so yeah. So it's almost like we have our favorite quote unquote issue. So like everything in our life which is out of balance, it shows up through that becomes a vehicle of, you know so for some people it could be an allergy, a skin allergy. For someone, like for me, the soles of my feet start burning. So when they are burning, I'm like, interesting, something else is coming up. What am I, not willing to look at, and then I start really. And then also what happens is we go into such lethargy. We're like, oh my god, I don't want to look at it, so forget it, I'm going to wallow in it a bit. That's a favorite one, right? I'm sure you haven't done it, Kathy.
No, no, no. So, and I just,
So
the invitation, like the lightness that you be, it none of this has to be significant. Like you said, we put up such a wall for such a long time of, oh, all the work that would have to be done to move. Are you willing to put in the work to move past it? It's like, no, at the speed of awareness, just as you said, okay, ooh, got the tingly toes, like what here is, oh, that's what this is, a new aspect. I like the word aspect for that. Very good, very good. So tell us, like right now we're still in pandemic times, and I recognize for myself, like I've got entire days where it just feels like this wave of detachment or lost, or I don't know if it's despair, but I know a lot of people will just have completely full days of not feeling productive. So what's that, and how can we unplug from some of that?
So, not feeling productive, okay, or not being productive, or whatever that may be. So basically, if you look at it, if you look at, I wouldn't really use the word productive, but like force and effort. into taking action.
Mhm.
It's literally like you're forcing yourself to do something that you don't feel like doing, you know. And according to Abraham Hicks, that's really, you're not going downstream, right?
Yeah.
Because you're putting in all that force and effort, and you will go through all the motions, but you're not going to get the results because your energy is just not aligned with it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So the days when you're not feeling productive, maybe it's time for you to just do something that makes you feel good, right? And it doesn't have to be like really big things, but it could be something as simple as reading a book, right? So for me, this energy is really familiar. I don't feel like doing anything.
Mhm.
It is a really, really, really familiar energy. Literally, it's very familiar. And I can literally have days when I go through this thing of I don't feel like doing anything. However, now, when that energy hits, I recognize it. Oh, it's that energy.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't feel like doing anything. So the first thing I do is I release on it. Okay, so let's do a release on this. Okay,
Okay. Yes.
so everyone who is in this space of I don't feel like doing anything, or in the space of I don't feel like doing this thing, let's release on this. So the energetic release, when I say let's release on it, I say that, and then I'm doing the release, which is kind of silent, so you can receive it. So Kathy, did you think of something that you don't feel like doing while we were doing the release?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now when you think about that thing, how do you feel?
Well, there's a little bubbliness to it now. Yeah.
Okay, okay, fantastic. Now, I've been working with a client for a few months now, and she works at a job, and she has a side hustle, which is a business. And one of her big challenges has been that once she comes home from her job, she just doesn't feel like working on her business anymore. And we've done quite a number of sessions with her to release all the stuff so that she can start working on her business. And I just had a session with her before the interview, and for the first time she said, you know what, I think I'd like to have ease and joy with not working on my business.
Oh.
And that was like, for me, was like, oh yeah, this was the missing piece. Yeah, because when you judge yourself that I'm procrastinating and I'm not working on this, that is adding to the whole angst around it. Okay, so let's release all the judgment you have about procrastination. Okay, so let's release on that. And now let's also release on all the judgment you have about you procrastinating. Now, here's the thing with procrastination, often there is something underneath it. There's something below the procrastination which keeps you not wanting to do that. And that is like an awareness you require to have. So when we actually did a few judgment releases with her, when I did that, I said, now when you think about not working on your business, what's coming up for you? She thought about it for a moment and she said, you know what? My job, I enjoy my job, and my job is giving me the time so that I can work on my business. She said, because I'm in my job, I'm getting the income, and this income allows me the time later to work on my business.
Huge.
So that was like, oh, that feels really good.
Yeah.
And she said, and I really love my job. I enjoy my job.
Yeah.
So, that awareness was missing for her because it was hidden underneath the judgment of procrastination.
Or
So the
the
moment
of
of
working hard. And what was the other word when you said it? Oh, productive. Just the whole notion of productivity and the measures that we've used up until now to gauge that. It's like, oh, all of that, that's a physical thing. It's like if we are ascending beyond that, there's different ways in which we're, you know, tending to our vibe that's going to make all the difference and amplify everything. So
absolutely. And one of the things that I've noticed with my 21 days of healing, this piece, the productivity piece gets sorted, like in the sense that people will still go through the wave of it, because you always, like, I have this client and she always comes to me saying that, oh, I should have done more, and I should have, but I always tell her, hey, look, when you began working with me, can you see where you were with what you're doing and where you are now? She said, definitely, I can see a big shift. So it's like, if you are here, say you work like 1 hour productive in a day, for example, I'm just giving. So you cannot go from 1 hour to suddenly 10 hours because your body is not used to it. There's a whole bunch of things in your being, your system, which are not used to it. So then what happens is that you might suddenly do a little bit of 10 and then you'll fall flat again. But the thing is, if you keep working, if you keep, and by working, I mean working in a different realm, not the force, effort, action realm, but more on the energy realm, what happens is that slowly you might go from 1 hour to 3 hours. You might even go to 6 and then come down to 4 for a bit and then again. So it's that gradual thing where then your whole being gets used, that becomes your new normal.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. And I do like how you do that with your facilitation about the things that are familiar and safe, that's kind of like our the familiar set point. And, working 6 hours focused is unfamiliar and unsafe. So can you explain that concept a little bit more for our listeners?
So we're used to safe and familiar. Okay. And so procrastination is safe and familiar,
Yeah.
right? But taking inspired action is unsafe and unfamiliar. So procrastination could be like, you working for you kind of sitting on something, not taking action for it for weeks, months, or even years,
Well,
right?
like you were saying
So
about the girl that was afraid to be seen at that point in time, because this is all about women rising, so it is inviting us to some really unfamiliar places. So to be seen.
exactly. So hiding, not being seen or being invisible is safe and familiar, right? And then being visible, being seen, being heard is unsafe and unfamiliar. And again, being seen, being heard, and all that again is different levels of it. Because in my own journey, when I started off as a telesummit host. So for me, being seen and being heard, and at that point of time when I started 2011, it was more of audio. So I had to become, I had to go into the unfamiliar and unsafe of being on audio, of people listening to me. And then, at some point I became comfortable with that, and I was like, oh, I'm just the interviewer, right? And then after that I became a facilitator, so then that became a new unsafe, unfamiliar zone for me. Oh, now I'm the facilitator, now people are going to judge me if I don't do it right, if I'm not perfect at this, blah 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 blah. Then I became safe and familiar with that. And then, I published my book, and I was like, oh, I'm an author now, and people are going to judge me, they're going to hate my book. So that was the unsafe, unfamiliar zone. So then, that became safe and familiar. And then the next one was being on video, right? Oh my god, that is totally unsafe, unfamiliar. And I totally created like this TV show, right, in a channel in India. And that was like hugely unsafe and unfamiliar for me, so much so that, when we went to do the promo of it, I totally created the security throwing us out from that space, because like, no, you don't have a permit. So as we were going to a different location, cleared on myself, and so when we went to the different location, we could then do the promo, because then I became okay with, say, I became safe and familiar with that. So it's been like a very interesting, it's always, and this is not just mine, I'm just giving you an example, because I've gone through these different medias. But being seen, being heard is always like that. It's always going to be that new thing, that new whatever, new frontier, new space that you're going to, which is going to be unsafe and unfamiliar for you. And it's just about, being being safe and familiar, being safe with the unsafe, and being familiar with the unfamiliar, and unfamiliar with the familiar, and unsafe with the safe. All those tongue twisting, what you can't even logically make make sense out of all that. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the end.
I love the word that you use, the frontier, so it's like everywhere we made unfamiliar feel scary, and something to back to the ostrich mode. It's like, no, frontier, let's ignite that sense of adventure and possibility. I think that's what everyone's hungry for right now.
Exactly. But the thing is, you cannot go to adventure and possibility when you're in fear.
Mm-hmm.
So the first space is always releasing your fears, releasing your anxiety, whatever, whatever, whatever. And once you've released all that, then you're in that space of freedom, and then you can make a different choice. So this has become really, really very, very, clear to me. So now when I do my facilitation for people, I never really go to, let's ignite possibilities. I'm like, okay, tell me, what are you feeling right now? Where are you at? When you think about this, what comes up for you? And that's what we clear. And only then you can then see, what's next, or whatever that is.
Yeah. And like you said, we can examine what's coming up and just invite it to release and let it go. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so then let's wrap it up with just like, what does out creation mean? Like, what's the invitation there?
So out creation, for me, it's that energy of just being in the flow. And you have these synchronistic meetings, and you'll meet the right person at the right time, at the right space, exactly at that point of time where you exactly didn't even know you needed to meet him. Like this one, like where you didn't even know that you needed to meet him. you know that that for me is like the energy of out creation, because you're so much in the flow that things, the whole everything aligns and falls in place and all of that. And that actually is not a space that you go to. It's like a side effect
Right, right.
of choosing, oh, I'm out of balance, let me seek my balance. I'm out of balance, let me come back to balance. I'm out of balance, let me find that equilibrium. I'm out of balance, let me find that inner peace. And, I'm out of balance, let me find that freedom. So the more you do that, the more this starts to, kind of show up in your life.
Yeah. So it's almost, rather than plowing through a problem that might come up, it's almost like the invitation of like, oh, here's the problem. Let's go back, align, elevate up.
And like looking at that problem like a treasure. Oh my God, that's a treasure. Oh, I got triggered with this. So obviously something within me, another thing for me to let go of. And the treasure is that balance.
Yeah. It's almost a sign
All,
that we're growing and expanding, and there's more, better, and more fun, joy ahead.
exactly.
I love that. I love that. And it's so funny. So I would just highly recommend, all the contact information of how to find Nilofer is going to be below. We didn't talk about what your freebie would, but I want to absolutely invite you to check out what she's creating with the energetic releases. This coming month, I know you've got a free 5 days that you're offering for people to get a taste for that, and it's super affordable. Do we say the price here? You're always creating something different, so I don't want to misspeak on on anything, but
Yeah, no, that's fine. The price is for 21 days of healing, it's just $33. So I mean, it's not going to break your
you
bank
don't
or
even have
anything
to
like
show up. There's no time commitment. It's not a lot of money. Like, just connect with her and allow her to connect with you, and just release some of this stuff that it's just like it's our time. It's our time to rise, ladies. Like, we don't need to hang on to these old stories, these old energies. That's so, I always say it's so 2019. Just let that stuff go. This is the image, and I was sharing because I've told a lot of friends about your release thing. I'm like, I just like go through my day. Whenever there's ick that kind of comes up, I've got a silver platter, and I just hold it up at the end of the day, and Nilofer comes and wipes it away. So if you'd like that kind of thing, then you might want to check out her website there. But Nilofer, I couldn't love you anymore. You're just an amazing light, and so grateful for all you've done for me and all you do in the world. So any closing, anything you'd like to share before we?
um, First of all, thank you so much for having me. I loved our conversation, all the laughter, the fun, and we just spoke about so many things which were so casual. Um, Anything? No, it's the thing is your issue, your problem, whatever you think it is, it's your greatest treasure. Really, it is. And if you look at it as a treasure and you just keep, cleaning it up, releasing, that's it. I mean, it's really that simple, right?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, not when you're going through the trauma and the drama and the pain and the suffering. But the thing is, look at it and like, oh, okay, fine, this is one of those things. Okay, never mind, let's release on it.
Let's give it up to Nilofer. So awesome. Well, thank you. And yep, like I said, check her out and see what more is possible in your life. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you, Nilofer.
Thank you, Kathy.